Tide Talk with Webb is back, yeah. Anyway, we're back. I'm doing a video on who is the top receiver group in the SEC. Anyway, number 14 is Arkansas. I thought that would have been higher on the list because they really do have a really good returning quarterback, and Allen put up really good numbers. But, like I said, their top receiver, Jared Cornelius, had 32 catches, 500 yards, and 4 TDs. Their sophomore, Deion Stewart, had 2 catches, 34 yards. Junior Kendrick Jackson had 1 catch, 1 yard. Interesting fact, Cornelius was the second in SEC yards per route run last season and has dropped just 1 pass in 3 years. Pretty impressive. Kentucky's at number 13. Jeff Baddock, who led Kentucky with 600-plus yards last year and averaged SEC best 21.6 yards per catch, transferred to Oklahoma during the spring. Don't know why he did that, but yeah, that's going to hurt them a little bit. Dorian Baker had 14 catches for 200 yards and 2 TDs. Garrett Johnson, 39 catches last year for 500-plus yards and 5 TDs. And Blake Bone had 5 catches, 82 yards. So we'll see how they do. I don't know how Vanderbilt slipped past Kentucky. They got number 12. But hell, they don't ever throw the ball. Like, they just hand it off to Ralph Webb. Like, just keep running the ball. We're doing the Mike Shula offensive program with Dave Rader. That may go over some of y'all's younger heads, but yeah, that's pretty much all they do. So it's surprising their senior receiver they got coming back this year had 24 catches, 400-plus yards. Trent Sheffield had 34 catches, 400-plus yards, 1 TD. So I don't expect them to do big things. This number 11 kind of shocked me. I thought they'd be higher for whatever reason. Georgia was number 11. Now, they did have a freshman quarterback last year, and they were switching things around, so I kind of see that maybe they weren't as high on the list. Terry Godwin, he had 38 catches, 300-plus yards. Javen Wims had 17 catches, 109 yards, 1 TD. And Riley Ridley had 12 catches, 200 yards, and 2 TDs. Interesting fact, James Coley was a graduate assistant under Nick Saban at LSU in 2003. And offensive assistant under Nick Saban from 2005 and 2006 at the Dolphins. One guy I think this coming year to watch for them is a guy named Nada, their tight end. Dude's a stud. LSU, number 10. As we know, Doral and Dupree have gone on to the NFL. So they've got senior DJ Clark. He had 26 catches last year, 400-plus yards, 2 TDs. Sophomore Drake had 1 catch, 19 yards. Yeah. They may be kind of bleak because they don't have a quarterback again and no stars. Mississippi State at number 9. Donald Gray comes back, a lot of experience. He had 41 catches, 700-plus yards, 5 TDs. Sophomore Couch had 8 catches, 113 yards. And sophomore Keith Mixon with 19 catches, 200-plus yards, and 2 TDs. So, anyway, interesting fact, this receiver Mixon has a nickname Pocket Rocket because of how fast he is. Ross, the receiver that graduated last year when the NFL called him that. Tennessee is at number 8. Juwan Jennings had 40 catches, 500-plus yards, 7 TDs. Tyler Bird had 15 catches, 200-plus yards. And Marquise Callaway had 1 catch and 13 yards. They're breaking a new QB. Don't know how good they're going to be. The Barn is at number 7. They couldn't catch anything or throw anything last year. I don't know why they're not lower on the list, but anyway. Darius Slayton last year had 15 catches, 200-plus yards, and a TD. He's their best. That's the best stats they have for last year at receiver, if that tells you how crappy they are at quarterback. Sophomore Nate Craig Myers, 4 catches, 70 yards, 1 TD. Eli Stove, 23 catches, 200-plus yards. Yeah. How the hell Ole Miss slipped up to number 6? Well, they had good receivers last year. I'll give them that. But this is what the article is saying. Stringfellow and Quincy Adebayoya are gone. But this Ole Miss team could be even better in the catching department. No, that will not happen. Ole Miss is a dumpster fire. They'll be lucky to win 5 games. A.J. Brown had 29 catches, 400 yards, and 2 TDs last year. Sophomore DK Metcalf had 2 catches, 13 yards, 2 TDs. And redshirt sophomore Van Jefferson had 49 catches, 500 yards, and 3 TDs. You can go ahead and take this to the bank, folks. They're going to be a dumpster fire. They're not going to be better than they were last year in the catching department with the receivers. Go ahead and count that out. Texas A&M, number 5. I can see this. You had Christian Kirk, 83 catches, 900-plus yards, 9 TDs. Freshman Jamad Austin, no stats. Senior Damon Ratley, 2 catches, 26 yards. I think they'll be pretty good. They got a good season quarterback coming back. And with Christian Kirk, they'll be pretty good. Florida, number 4. Number 4! Which is surprising since they didn't have great numbers at all last year. But it's Florida's top 5 wide receivers from last year in terms of receiving yards are all back. Maybe that's why they're number 4 here. You had Callaway, 54 catches, 700 yards, 3 TDs. But they run a more of a spread West Coast system. Run and shoot. Brendan Powell, 45 catches, 300 yards, 2 TDs. Cleveland had 14 catches, 208 yards, and 2 TDs. Interesting fact, though, Callaway became the first player in school history for Florida and the 21st FBS player since 1996 to score a receiving, rushing, passing, punt return, and a kickoff return touchdown in his career. That's pretty good. The guy's all around a pretty studly dude. Number 3, South Carolina. This kind of surprised me because they weren't so good last year. South Carolina could have one of the top receiver tandems in the SEC with Deebo Samuels, that's a pretty cool name, and Brian Edwards. Let's see what their numbers are. Deebo Samuels, 59 catches, 700 yards, 1 TD. Freshman Rencoris Davis, 3 catches, 45 yards. Brian Edwards, 44 catches, 500-plus yards, 4 TDs. Missouri, number 2, but they run a very spread team. They throw probably 85-90% of the time, so I can see this. And they usually find really good receivers, always. Jamon Moore, 62 catches, 1,000 yards, 8 TDs. Demetrius Mason, 47 catches, 500-plus yards, 3 TDs. Jonathan Johnson, 24 catches, 435 yards, 2 TDs. So I imagine they're going to be pretty good again because they always are a really good receiver team and passing team. Alabama! Number 1, baby. Calvin Ridley, 72 catches, 700-plus yards, 7 TDs. Robert Foster, 5 catches, 55 yards. Cam Sims, 14 catches, 152 yards. But some of their biggest receivers went to the draft. We had a lot of yards put up by quarterbacks and running backs, so we're really spread out. But with Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley coming back, Robert Foster, we're going to be very, very stacked at receiver. So I can definitely see that. And interesting fact, only 2 Alabama receivers have been selected in the first round of the NFL draft since 1968, Jones and Amari Cooper. Okay, quick rundown. Not going to go over this too long. The best. Who has the top offensive line in the SEC? We've got number 14 at South Carolina, dumpster fire. They allowed the most sacks last year, worst at opening holes. I guess it sounds kind of like STD. Anyway, pretty big line. They're garbage. Vanderbilt's number 13. They graduated 2 of their best players from last year. All they do is run, but they're okay. 12, Mississippi Tate. The Bulldogs lost 3 starters from last year. They're more of a passing team, so I don't expect great things from them. Georgia, number 11. I didn't see them this low on the list. I don't know why they're 11. I figured they had a pretty decent offensive line. They weren't great at protecting the quarterback, but they have 2 great running backs, and both of them last year nearly had 1,000 yards, so I think they're underrated here in this list. Tennessee is number 10. We got a pretty big offensive line, not great running backs. We'll see how they do. Arkansas was number 9. I figured they'd be high on the list because they've had a 1,000-yard rusher ever since Bellman got there. So this kind of surprised me. Although they were one of the worst in the SEC at protecting the quarterback. I mean, hell, more opposing quarterbacks took turns sacking their QB than the average person takes turns on a doorknob in your house. So maybe that has something to do with it. They usually have one of the colossal, gigantic offensive line. They always have 1 to 2 off 1,000-yard rushers. So I think they'll be pretty good again this year. Texas A&M, they always crank out great NFL talent at this position at the offensive line. I think they'll be good again this year. They've got a lot of the returning starters. Ole Miss, I don't know how the hell they're number 7. They haven't had 1,000-yard rushers since 2009 under Houston Nutt. So I don't know how the hell they're so high on the list. They're a passing team. They said, oh, well, they recruit really great offensive linemen. Well, it sure as shit doesn't ever show. Kentucky's number 6. I could figure that. They had a pretty good rushing game last year. Pretty good, pretty big all around. I think those are good things. Florida, they didn't have great running last year. I don't know why they're number 5. It was a sore spot of the Gators' offensive line, but now it's becoming their strength. They do have a big offensive line. Hopefully they'll be better in running this year. We'll see. Missouri, number 4. I could see that. They put up decent numbers in rushing last year, so I could see that. A little high, I thought, but that was okay. The barn. Well, hell, all you did was run last year because you didn't have shit for quarterbacks. They were garbage. I could throw better than your quarterback did. But anyway, you got number 2. Pretty decent size offensive line. Who's number 1? Bama. I could see that. We put up a lot of rushing yards. We did have a good offensive line. We got 4 of the Tide's projected starters for all conference teams, SEC Media Days, coming back. They're pretty good. Alabama had 4 left tackles drafted in the first 44 picks in the NFL draft in the last 10 years. So it bodes well that we are number 1. Anyway, I'm Tide Talk. I'm out.